Welcome to the new episode of Elephant in the Groom with your host, Big Eddie Uzi, live from Chicago. Let's go. Hello, YouTube universe, Facebook universe. And I've had some people tell me, hey, yo, Uzi, why is you still going on Facebook? You've been completely demonetized. They're treating you like a stepchild out of hell. And I say loyalty versus royalties because I've been on Facebook a lot longer, and I got my faithful people that I love and truly admire, and I got to stay true. You know how the Democrats say, vote blue no matter who? Well, I got to stay true to the Facebook. So it's loyalty over royalties. So it was an interesting weekend in Chicago, not to say the least, right? And just a lot of weird things happened, man. It was like the inevitable. It was like that surge. And the stomp is here. Labor Day weekend chaos crushed under the foot of the groom. Chicago lights flashing red, blue, and out of control. But this ain't your evening news. This is Elephant in the Groom with your host, Big Eddie Uzi. And trust me, we don't tippy-toe around the headlines. We stomp them flat. Yes, I'm live from the Windy City, the city of vast disappointment and extreme letdowns. They used to call it the Hawk, Chirac, Chiran. I just call it Chicago. It's where I live. Did you see the numbers? Did you see the numbers over the Labor Day weekend? Don't pay attention to those numbers. Man, that crime was like a slot machine that never pays out, and you're just dipping money into it. And it's just bring, 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 bring. And then every time somebody actually became a fatality, then it was bling, 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 bling. 7 people were fatally wounded, shot, whatever. Can I say that word here? Whatever, what they were unalive. There you go. That's the word you got to use on YouTube. With the people upstairs, they get a little cray-cray. And the thing about that is that they never include migrant crime or undocumented migrant crime. You see, the really smart people of Chicago can't differentiate between Edwin Mendez from Venezuela or the Puerto Rican Edwin Mendez from Chicago, who's living here. Why? Because we both got driver's license. You know, did Pritzker say in front of a John Deere, or was it a Caterpillar tractor looking like a prime New York ribeye? Didn't he say, military? We cannot have military in Chicago because it is unconstitutional and they want to suppress our voting. You mean the military stands out there and just like a bouncer at a nightclub decides who to let in or not at the voting booth? That's not how it works. I mean, it'd be cool if there was someone there saying, can I see your ID? But no, Black and brown people, supposedly, we don't know how to get IDs. We don't know how to do it. There's something wrong with the water we drink that it just like, ID over there, I don't know how to get an ID. I don't know how to do it. It's disgusting, man. All this cosplay. And then the Mayor Brandon Johnson, which last week I was a little bit emotional and I called him Ben Johnson. I love my boy Benny Johnson, man. No disrespect, bro. I know you're going through your own struggles with the New York Times. So I'm not trying to bring you into any more smoke, brother. But Brandon Johnson said it is unconstitutional. It is racist. I mean, a black guy wearing a mohawk saying that a white guy with a full set of hair is racist. You know who wasn't racist before 2015? Donald Trump. I seen the Honorable Judge Brown say that one day he was at an after party, and it was for major artists. And you know, Judge Brown don't drop dimes. That's just his MO. That's his mode of operandi. And he said that it was a major hip hop artist, and he was invited to the after party. He's in there, and he's seen a group of black millionaires bum rushing the door, high-fiving and hugging on this real big, tall white dude. So he asked the guy that invited him there, which I would assume was another hip-hop star, man, who's that big white guy everybody's bum rushing with those two beautiful black women around his arms? Black women. They say, oh, man, that's Donald J. Trump. That's the hottest man in New York. Yeah, him. Now he's obviously racist. I'm independent, man. I'm in the middle. But y'all pushing me over the edge a little bit, man. Are we going to need a trilateral? Can you imagine that? A trilateral agreement between Pritzker, Brandon, and Trump just to get some type of measure to reduce crime in Chicago? Do we have to go to that extent? I mean, it's bad enough this guy's got to deal with Zelensky, Putin, Xi, Kim, Netanyahu, Iran, the Taliban, the Hamas, and every other issue that's happening all over the world. And this man, the President of the United States, has to take time out of his busy schedule to set up a trilateral meeting domestically in the U.S. with a you know what? Donkeys are stubborn, bro. And I didn't realize how stubborn the Democrat Party can be, which is why I've always been independent. And I lived in Chicago and New York City. I've seen these politicians work. They're all talk, and they don't walk the walk. And they're all talking, no action, man. Well, I can see this. This is going to have to take a trilateral commission to finally get the state of Illinois to break. Again, when I was at the hospital trying to get in so I can see my daughter, I was conversing with the police officials that were there. And boy, that was a melee between the families crying because they couldn't get in and see their loved ones. And you can just imagine that, right? Imagine you if someone in your family got shot and they didn't let you go see them to comfort them, right? Imagine you in Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, somewhere in Maine, somewhere in Wyoming, or the state of Washington, just anywhere in this country, urban or rural, and you're the mother or the father of a child who's been shot, and you can't see them because there is people of the opposing gangs in the back, and the cops have to deter that. There's people of the opposing gangs on the outside making sure that the people in their gang on the inside are okay, and they're running around the hospital. And this is happening everywhere in Chicago. But our president has to come up with a trilateral commission to try to figure out how to reduce crime. I'm beginning to think that crime is the grind. But it's time to reach outside the box. I mean, does anyone have any other ideas or any other proven strategies that can reduce crime without having the government assist the city of Chicago? I mean, I'll gladly take a responder. I mean, so like I said, I'm not technologically savvy, so I can't see none of the comments. That's assuming I'm getting any. I know I'm getting some on Facebook, but when you're new to YouTube, you gotta beat the raptures, the algorithm gatekeepers, just to get through. Somehow the best way to get through is just to kind of circumvent the system somehow. But this is insane, man. And so if I had a crystal ball in front of me right now, like one right here, and I don't believe in that. So let's just say I was Moses and I just got out of Egypt, just got through the Red Sea, and everyone's complaining because they haven't reached the promised land yet. And then I got to go have a meeting with Jesus, with God, with God, because everybody's going crazy. All the people that went through that first initial plunge with me are complaining, and they're not happy. And then I got to get God's attention, because this can go south very quickly. And if God, I was able to have that talk with God, it'd be like the 10 commandments of the real statistics of what happened in Chicago during the Labor Day weekend. And I will tell you that my estimate is going to be much closer to the true raw numbers. Remember, whether you're Edwin Mendez, a Puerto Rican, right? Born here in the United States. Both my parents born in Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory, versus little Venezuelan Edwin Mendez that walked 5,000 miles supposedly from Venezuela and made his way through the jungles of Central America and made his way through the cartel, money-hungry coyotes, and then made it to Texas or New Mexico or California and made their way to Chicago somehow. Maybe they got on that little yellow bus. So they don't report that. So if your last name is Santiago, Crespo, or whatever it may be, Garcia, Taco Bell, whatever your last name may be, whether you're Mexican, here 3-4 generations. There's Mexicans that have been here since the 1920s, 1930s. Or Puerto Ricans been here since around the same time when they started coming here from Puerto Rico. And if you just got here and you're undocumented, they're not going to report that crime. So here's the true numbers, not exaggerated. Because you see, the way the system is rigged is to make the black people seem like they're the only people committing black on black crime, and they're the only people responsible for all of the crime statistics in Chicago. And that in itself is gonna irritate a lot of black people. It's just gonna do it. African American, I don't know what you want to call them. I grew up with them. I just call them black. Actually, that's for me to use so you understand who I'm talking about. Here in Chicago, I don't see them as being black. They're just my people, right? But it's irresponsible when you say 80% of the crime is being done by black people, when I know the true number is closer to around 60, 55. Because you got 35, 40% of Hispanics, Latinos, which is an imaginary word. There's really no such thing as a Latino or a Hispanic. It's another imaginary word. It's just people that happen to speak Spanish. People that were probably, more than likely, colonized by Spain. And when they got their independence from Spain, they decided to, we all speak Spanish, we'll keep speaking Spanish. But we don't have anything, not even when you get down to indigenous Indian blood. There's some people that don't have it. There's some people that are just Spaniard, and they're Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, Venezuelan. Look at them. If you have blue eyes, blonde hair, and you're white, it doesn't matter where you are from this world born, you're white. You're of the white race. Like myself, when I do my ancestry lookup, I am 50% Spaniard, right? From my mother, from my father's side, both grandparents, their parents came directly from Spain to Puerto Rico. My mother's side of the family was black, African from West Africa, came in as slaves. I got the certificates of their slavery. I have copies of it. So I'm technically half African, half Spaniard. That's why I don't have no indigenous blood in me. When you go to Mexico, you have a little bit more indigenous blood mixed in with a little bit of Spaniard. It's almost, at this point, depending, you can look at the person and see if the person has more indigenous Indian, more Spaniard, or the person straight up. And then you have African Americans at certain parts of Mexico too. That's why you see some Mexicans, you're like, damn, you're really dark. Same, and I don't know how much credence they give to their Afrocentricity, but I know once you get closer down to South America, like Colombia, you got proud black people that live amongst their indigenous and Spaniard family members. Everybody's kind of mixed. But they don't count that in Chicago. So even though I know we're responsible, I know we are. Although I don't live in a Hispanic community, I live close enough. I live in a better community. Thank God I worked myself out of the bad community. But I know the gang I was in when we were in Humboldt Park, back when Humboldt Park was the highest homicide rate per 3-mile radius. Back in the late 70s and early 80s. Look it up if you can. When they actually counted crime. If your last name was Santiago, Cruz, or whatever. So we have a big problem in Chicago. And I'm looking at the time because I know everyone's attention span is about 24, 25 minutes. I got this down to a science, so I'm getting ready to wrap this up. So yeah, it's time for us to start reporting migrant crimes, and that's how you come up with a really good initiative, right? Come on, man. It's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room, man. It's ain't no time to babysit. Listen, you just can't walk the streets of Chicago. You can't. And the people that tell you that you're lying live in areas where you could do it. Like, I could walk around my neighborhood. I could do it. But not everybody can. I could do it. I could walk around my neighborhood because my neighborhood is safe. There is places in Chicago that are ultra safe. But I will tell you one thing based on my little crystal ball. There's an old saying in Chicago, vote once, vote often. The next presidential election, no matter who it is that's running, it's going to be a lot closer. And it's going to get a lot closer if it keeps on with our current crime spree. And the reason why they don't want the federal government here is obvious, right? Because now you have to report all the crimes that aren't being reported or are not being classified correctly. You should see what some people, I don't mean to laugh at this, man, where some people get categorized when they get killed. Sometimes they categorize them as a whole other statistic that doesn't count towards the homicide rate. Like, accidental case still pending, and it stays there forever until they close it. And of course, it's done under the expense usually of a different administration, so that they have to take that number, they have to take that L. So anyways, yeah, I don't know how it's going to work, but it's inevitable that Trump's going to be here and it's going to cause a lot of problems. Yes, there is people that crime is a grind. And there is people that don't want to be usurped by a white dude. Man, this white dude came here and actually got crime under control. He's result driven, while it seems like other political leaders are just grandstanding. They're cosplaying. Because crime is a big part of the economy in Chicago. But I'll tell you some other statistics that are very interesting before I close this out. And I'm coming close to it, right? If I was to tell you the amount of money that Chicago makes on organized crime and money that can't be counted, it is probably the economy the size of a regular city around this country. That's the kind of money Chicago makes. I got something else to tell you. New York City has about 24 million people in its greater metropolitan area. And when I go to New York to visit my family, just eyeballing it, I would say that it's closer to 27, 28 million because of the undocumented people. But that's a conservative number. I can easily say 30 million. There's 24 million in the books. And they have 120 Fortune 500 companies operating out of the New York metropolitan area. They're larger metropolitan area because you got your city limit numbers, then you have your metro area, and then you got your greater metropolitan. They got 3 different census that count as part of your city. Chicago, now they have 120 Fortune 500 companies. Chicago has half of that. So the greater Chicago metropolitan area is around 12 to 14 million. If eyeballing it, I'm going to say 16. But that's conservative. It could be as high as 18 million people because there is some suburbs in Chicago, a lot of them that have over 100,000 people in them. And then there's cities around those suburbs that are full of immigrants that have kept these cities from dissolving, from going into bankruptcy. And a lot of the times when they do the major drug busts, it happens right outside of the city limits, just right outside, conveniently. So I would venture to say that for the size that Chicago is, compared to New York City, and they have 120. You know how many Fortune 500 companies Chicago has? Which is why it won't be the next Detroit. It's just never going to be the next Detroit. We have 90 Fortune 500 companies in the Chicago metropolitan area. Now, that number could have changed because I know companies like Boeing kind of left. There's a couple of other companies that kind of left. In other words, they're not hedging all of their infrastructure in Chicago. They're kind of like outsourcing some of the major components of their business into other cities where the cost of living may not necessarily be lower. But when it comes to money, people in Chicago have a lot of it. There's a different source of income here that crime would then really put this city into bankruptcy status. And that's the real reason. But I'm not a sociologist. I don't have a PhD in underground economy or whatever it would be called. They'll make up something for it. But it's here. This is a major hub because of the organized gangs. They get to operate their neighborhoods and distribute the drugs or whatever else they have to do. So there's a different economy, and that's the real reason why they don't want any intervention. They know crime is bad. They know that there's an exodus, and then they know more people will come in because there's a lot of money floating around the city. And the one thing money attracts is people. And then the cost of living is pretty good considering other major cities, especially if you want to venture a little bit outside of Chicago. Just a little. Anyways, the next things I want to say before I sign off is that starting next week, I'll be reacting to videos, which means I don't have to speak as long. And I could just make fun of all of the subject matter that I'm going to have at my disposal. So for right now, I'm signing off. I will catch every single one of you on the next Stampede. And be looking out for another one of my videos. Subscribe, like it. That's all I really care. I'm not asking nobody for money. Just subscribe. Just show the brother a little bit of love. I know people have been telling me, been calling me saying, Uzi, I cannot find you on YouTube. I know it's hard because I'm new to YouTube. So I'm at the bottom of the barrel, man. Like, bottom of the barrel. But you can find me through Facebook. It's public. And then you can kind of work your way to like it on YouTube. If you want to go into the app, sub it. It's the only way I'm going to break out of the funk, out of the bottom of the barrel. And then my content could be better. Another thing I'll be making a change to is this mic. I'm going to give me a professional one. This is a mic I had laying around. I said, I'm going to use it for now. Why not? Anyways, this show is over. What the hell am I doing here, man? I'm going to finish and publish this. I'll be finishing the thumbnail after this because my producer's not here. I don't have somebody doing this shit for me. It's a one-man team. It's me right now. That's it. It's what you see is what you get. But like everything else in life, once everything starts moving, things will fall in place. Thank you for watching me, and catch me again.